Tēnā koutou katoa, Nicole McKee here, Council of Licensed Firearm Owners. Over the last week or so, I have done some chats and recordings with members of Parliament about their perspectives and experiences with firearms. Now, this is not a debate on firearms legislation. This was actually our idea to get out to you what these people know about firearms, and we have varied participants from across the House for you to view. So, hey, go out there, watch what we have to show you. We hope you enjoy the videos.
Koutou katoa. Welcome everybody. I am Nicole McKee and I'm with the Council of Licensed Firearm Owners, and I have invited along today for a bit of a kōrero, bit of a chit chat, Clayton Mitchell, List MP for New Zealand First. Welcome, Clayton.
Hi Nicole, and hi everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be tuning in myself to see how it all goes today. It's a great idea and a great opportunity to have a bit of a chat and answer some questions about, I guess, MPs that actually are active in the hunting and gathering and fishing realm. I've even put on my, my Stony Creek wear today just for the occasion.
Hey, look, I was this close to wearing my pink camo onesie. I've actually been dared to, and I think at some stage I'll have to choose the right MP to put it on and wear it for, the hoodie and all. So looking forward to that.
Duck season would have normally been opening up next weekend. In fact, I was all set to be down in Hawke's Bay for the opening day and have a pre-dinner the night before and then up and into it the next day. So unfortunately, I'm a bit left wanting. So we've erected the tent in the backyard, and maybe I'll just sleep out of my camo gear for the night to make myself feel better.
Fair enough. It's one of the things I have not done yet. I've not gone out duck shooting. I've tried my hand at just about everything, but that's still on my bucket list of things to do.
Oh, it's a must-do. A lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, look, Clayton, a little bit about you, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So I've done a little bit of research. Looking at you, you are the New Zealand First Party Whip.
Correct.
You also sit on 4 select committees, and you were quite active in the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee hearings on the first tranche of arms legislation. You were the spokesperson for New Zealand First in outdoor recreation and also sports and recreation. And you're married with 3 children. You're based in Tauranga, and you are the 10th generation Kiwi of Robert Henry Mitchell, a whaler that came here in the late 1700s. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
And you've represented New Zealand, but I don't know in what.
In judo.
Ah.
Yeah. So a bit of a pugilist by nature and history, and I think it's something that's been passed on from generation to generation also. So my father represented in judo and boxing both in New Zealand and in Australia, and so he's quite efficient at the martial arts. And as a young boy, I was always taught to stand up for myself and bully-proof myself, and so I sort of followed a similar path, and I've done the same for my kids as well. So.
Well, congratulations.
Judo and jiu-jitsu and doing a bit of boxing, it's important, I think.
It's a great achievement to be able to earn that silver fern. So I congratulate you on that. That's great. So we're going to talk about firearms today and your experiences with firearms. Clayton, when did you first get your firearms license? How old were you?
I was 16 when I got my license, but I was actually unofficially given my first firearm when I was 8 on my 8th birthday. It was a Russian biker, which I've still got actually, a little bit side-by-side shotgun for exactly duck shooting and going out and getting some turkeys and some pheasants and all sorts of things. So from about 8 years old, I was actively shooting with my family and, sort of once or twice a year go out on an occasion, but also just going and doing some target shooting was quite a regular occurrence on weekends and holidays, etc. So I've been around firearms for the most part of my life.
So you've done target shooting as well as hunting, a bit of duck shooting. And have you done this all in the Tauranga area?
No, I'm actually a Hawke's Bay boy originally. So I did most of my early hunting days in the Hawke's Bay, out the back blocks. Ngangamatea, done some hunts up around there in the Gentle Annie. But yeah, we've got our kids into it. In fact, and all of our kids, when they turned 8 years old, we've taken them out for their first blooding, if you like. My daughter,
Yes.
who's now 14, loves to come because she loves the outdoors and the wildlife, but she doesn't want to shoot any animals, so she takes the pictures, but she also shares in the spoils because she enjoys some nice venison, and she loves a bit of pork, and so she loves the taste, but just doesn't want to participate in the actual hunting side of it.
But she likes being outdoors with the family.
Loves it, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really enjoy it.
Yeah, I've got 4 children. We talked about that before, and when I started shooting, it was a bit later on. I was in my late 20s, and we'd been around firearms. My stepfather was a chef, and I grew up in Rotorua, so there was a bit of wild game up there. And we'd been around firearms, but I never actually shot. I played netball.
Right.
But with my last 3 children, I banged them all out in under 3 years. So I couldn't play netball. So I started shooting, and I really enjoyed it. So my children, the last 3 of my children, were actually in the womb when they were first introduced to the bangs and thrills of firearms, and that was on a target shooting range.
Yeah.
But they've been going out hunting with us from a very, very early age, and of course having that appreciation of firearm safety. So I'm gathering that it's your father or your parents that have taught you the initial aspects of firearm safety, and you've done the same thing to your children.
Absolutely, and it starts at a very young age. If you can normalise a firearm as being a tool, no different to a hammer or a saw, and it's got its time and its purpose and its place, we shouldn't be fearful to introduce younger children to firearms in a responsible, sensible manner. There's a whole lot of reasons and different passionate reasons that people pursue firearms. For the biggest part in New Zealand, I think we're so lucky that we've actually got gorgeous terrain with a plentiful supply of animals that we can actually stalk and hunt, and then share in the spoils of and share with our family, because there's nothing better than coming home with some nice back steaks to hand over to the family. No different to when we go out fishing, come back with a few extra snapper to share. We love that, and I don't think there's too many countries in the world that has the close and the proximity to the outdoors like we have, and also the responsible position that we're actually enabling ourselves to utilise firearms. And politically, we have always stood by a sensible approach towards firearms. I think March 15th was a day for New Zealand to think about what's important to us, and I think the stages that we're going through, albeit some of them have come out at different points saying this is not a practical approach, and I think time over the next few weeks, as this the committee of the whole house of the second reading beyond comes to a head, people will see, actually, thank goodness New Zealand First has had a pragmatic approach to it. But I can't share any of that because it's, one, it's political, but two, it's coming up and it's not for me to announce those things.
And we're here to talk about you and your experiences and not get into the politics of it all. I expect some of our viewers will have some very strong views about certain political parties and policies, but we want to actually bring the human face to it all and let everybody know that there are some politicians that do have firearm licenses and are in there talking on behalf of the firearm users around New Zealand. So that's what we're hoping you're doing, Clayton, in New Zealand First.
Certainly are, and within our caucus, there's a number of us who are active firearms holders and users of firearms for a range of different reasons. But Mark Patterson, who is one of our caucus members, owns a large block, or a good sized block anyway, and uses firearms to manage pests and control, those vermin that come, into his area. But also for the pleasure of it also, with the duck hunting and I think even the odd deer stalk he participates on. Ron Mark, who's the Minister of Defence, has got a very long history of the use of firearms from his military background. He's a collector and enjoys the use of target shooting, but also going out and hunting. So a range of people, even Winston enjoys duck season. We were booked next weekend to go to Hawke's Bay for the opening season, for the opening weekend, where he was going to be coming and doing some duck shooting with myself and a group of like-minded friends, and that's obviously all off right now. But before the season ends, hopefully when lockdown finishes, we will actually get out there for a good shoot. So we're excited about that.
And with that, Clayton, do you get to go out often now that you're an MP? You're in your second term now as a New Zealand First representative. Do you get to actually go out there and hunt often?
No, I don't. Probably 2 or 3 times a year. Getting the old pukeko, and they're quite tasty if you can boil them up right. I've got a mate that's got a very good recipe for them, and sous vide them, yeah, however he does it. I need to get one of them because they're beautiful soft meat. But I do also have a friend here in the Bay of Plenty who's got a skeet shooting range called Loaded NZ. Don't want to be name dropping, but great places. A couple of places out here also that enable you to go around and sort of get your sights in. And I love taking the kids out there. They use the 20 gauge for target shooting and getting their eye in, and it's a great afternoon. It can be quite expensive, but it's a good afternoon if you can bang off a few boxes and get your spend some time with the family doing so.
Do you belong to any clubs or organisations?
No, I don't, and it's something that when I have got more time, I'd like to do, get into, different shooting. My father, who's a collector as well, has got some nice classic firearms that I like to shoot from time to time. But just time is of the essence right now. We don't have a lot of that, so hopefully it'll come back.
I've got just a couple more questions for you. One of them is, what's your most memorable moment with a firearm?
The first time I probably shot my first animal, which was a duck, and it was in Hawke's Bay, and it was the first time I'd went out and it was using this Russian biker, which only just been given. I was so sore on my shoulder because there's a wooden stock that's not padded in any way, and it really did kick like a mule. And but getting a duck was a great thing. Then the plucking of it, which I didn't particularly enjoy, and the gutting of it was not what it was cracked up to be. I had to get used to that. But that first time when you actually get to take home to my grandmother, because my mother was a vegetarian, so she wasn't interested in cooking up. But I took the duck to my grandmother, and she cooked it up for me, and that was just great. I felt so proud. Nearly lost a tooth too as I bit down on the pellet. You remember all those little things, don't you?
You do. One of my I've got 2 very memorable moments. The first one was the first time I actually shot a firearm out at Seddon Range at Trentham at 900 yards. And I had these people, they were telling me to shoot, and they were yelling out, V-ball, V-ball, V-ball. And I had no idea what that meant. I said, is that good? And they said, just keep going, dear, keep going. And my second moment was, of course, the first animal that I took. Which was a fallow deer, and I went home and was taught how to process it, and I felt so proud of myself for doing everything from start to finish. And luckily there was no lead in there to bite down on. Finally, the question that's always asked: what is the best hunting caliber, Clayton?
Well, it depends what you're shooting, obviously, first and foremost. If you're going for pigs, I quite like a 357 Magnum. It's a short stock. I've got a lovely little wee pig gun for that. If you're going for hares, I use a 223, and you can get a good shot in at 200 yards, and it's dead eye. It's really, really good. I use a 7mm08 for hunting deer. Is my preferred caliber. So there's 3, and I use an SKB, which I've had for many, many years, as my over and under for ducks and anything else that I'm going for. So a firearm for every occasion is important. I think you probably only need 4 if you've got each of them all well tuned in. 22 for a rabbit if you need that. So yeah.
I must admit that my 7mm08 hunting rifle has gone down to Dunedin with my university student daughter.
Beautiful. Did she? Well, she wouldn't have any chances to go out this year, I bet.
No. And she took it back at the beginning of the year. She came home for Christmas and said, "I need one of your hunting rifles." And I have 303s and my 7mm08. She eyed up the 7mm08 and took the Weatherby back to Dunedin with her. So hopefully she'll get a chance down there. Hey, Clayton, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to have a chat and talk to us about your experiences. We are looking forward to the debate of the second tranche of legislation.
Yes,
I'll just say, throw it out now, but I guess that's not going to happen.
Look, thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate everybody tuning in too. You know, one thing, and I will say this, and I think it's important to know, we haven't been overly loud in our approach to this bill. We have been very, very quiet behind the scenes, and that's part of the collegiality that we've shown our caucus, our coalition partners. There will be a time for crowing and saying what we've done, and I just thank yourselves and many people out there that understand that behind the scenes is where the work gets done, and you're going to see a bill that I think by and large is going to be well received, certainly far better than it was originally.
Yeah, here's hoping, and we're looking forward to that. You could just throw it out though, just saying, but we'll leave that there. Clayton, thank you very much for your time, and we'll catch up again soon.
For sure. Akite.
Tēnā koutou katoa anō. Thanks for watching our video, and please feel free to share that with your friends, spread it far and wide so they can see the calibre of the MPs that will be debating the second tranche of legislation in the House. Also, thank you for your support, and come along to the Fair and Reasonable campaign. If you're not already following and supporting us, we encourage you to do so you can keep in touch with what's going on in the House. Thanks again, everybody. Take care out there.